The movement was begun by a scientist who discovered, quite by accident, these signals being sent. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered.
They want their weapon.
You have to wake yourself up.
Look out for Charlie.
I want that son of a bitch dead. I want him dead.
I've got a lot of information that I want to give you guys tonight. Facts, because that's what I deal in, are facts. I don't do theories. I don't do anything like that, and that's why you've never heard me say who is doing this or what they were using. I've never said that they were using satellites or sound cannons or anything like that. I'm getting closer to a decision on that, but these weapons are complicated in some senses and very simple in others. I need to go back and reiterate some stuff as we gain new watchers. When you're listening to this, don't use your phone. Use, decent headphones or earbuds or a decent set of speakers, because you're not going to hear what's really there. If all you're listening to is through a tweeter, you're not going to get the full sound. Another thing is, I just received a couple emails from people recently asking me, I'm putting this into a sound program, what should I do about the noise reduction? What settings should I set it to? A couple people have mentioned things over the past few days to a week. The reason why my audio sounds the way it does is because I'm not doing what you are doing at all. This is something completely different. You are working with surface audio, and I've worked with surface audio too before. There's nothing wrong with that. But what you are doing is you're listening for voices and you're cleaning it up. I'm looking at this audio as a puzzle, because it is. It's a puzzle. And it's like a combination lock. And when you get the frequencies tweaked properly, you unlock it and audio comes out. What I'm working with is areas where there seems to be no audio at all. So there can just be open air, hiss, or noise. And I'm unlocking that to pull it out. Generally, I'm working in, 15,000 to 23,000 hertz or higher, or 44 hertz and under, where no human voice can be naturally. And that's why my voices sound the way they do. Somebody mentioned in the comments in the last video, my voices are clearer than yours. You're working with surface audio. I'm not working with surface audio at all. I'm decoding open air audio where it sounds like there is nothing. 99% of my videos are like that. It's open air audio where it sounds like there's nothing there. Or a noise that I tweak the frequencies until you can hear that a noise is a voice. I'm not looking for voices in the audio. One, if you are finding the actual V2K signal, it sounds like a run-on sentence, a party of people just talking, robo-talking. That's what it sounds like. Two, if you use noise reduction at all, you are destroying the evidence. So don't save it like that. Keep an original copy. And courts and the police will tell you that too. As long as you keep the original copy of what you have while you're tweaking it, you're golden. So that's what's going on. That's why my audio sounds different than your audio. We are not doing the same thing. It is not even close to the same thing. What I had to do was take everything that I learned about audio through my whole life and throw it in the trash and relearn how to work with this audio. So what you're looking at on your screen right now is the Lily Wave by John C. Lilly. And this wave was designed to bypass the human brain, the human firewall, so to speak, and give information to the person in its vicinity, whoever's being affected by it. So what you're looking at here is a pulse. This is an electromagnetic pulse. And then in here, right after the pulse, that's how it's designed, there's information. Information, information, information. Then another pulse here. Then information. This is important. Pay attention to this, because what I've discovered is very similar to the Lily Wave. I'm 99% sure at this point that I have everything pretty much smoothed and figured out as to what is happening. They don't call it entrainment for nothing. Remember that. Whether or not you guys remember it or not, years ago, I did a video about an electromagnetic mic that I had created. I picked up a lot of cool stuff with it, and once in a while, I pull that mic out and I still experiment with it. So the other night, I pulled out this electromagnetic microphone, and what this does is it doesn't pick up actual noises. So you can stand in front of it and scream your head off, and it won't pick it up. It's only going to pick up electromagnetic signals. I started recording with this, and all I did was take it into the middle of my house at about 3 in the morning and hit record. Hang on. I don't know if you could hear that in the video, but I had to go check out what that was. A ghost started messing with me. It wasn't really a ghost. Something got knocked over in the other room. Nobody's awake. It's 5 in the morning. So I start talking about this stuff and stuff gets knocked over. So yeah, I hooked up this electromagnetic mic and did some recording. Well, immediately, all I did was boost this up. I haven't done any tweaking to the frequencies or anything on this file. I just boosted it up. What it was doing was picking up this pulsing. So I did about 5 or 6 5-minute tests with it. So check it out for a minute. I want you to hear it. Listen to the pulsing, and it'll sound like a heartbeat. Doo 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 doo. So I started working with this, and what I found was backing up everything that I was thinking. It's pulsed between 100 and 106 BPM, and that could be anywhere between, let's say, 92 and 110 BPM, which means that's why there isn't more than one V2K hearer of noises or voices or whatever within so many feet or blocks. It's because it's being pulsed at X amount of beats per minute. You are being entrained. When you start to hear this stuff, you are entrained, and the more you listen to it, the more entrained you become, and the better you can hear it, because you are being entrained to a BPM. This is being pulsed, this particular file, at 104 BPM, which is right around a little bit higher than normal heartbeat. 104 BPM, average human heartbeat is between 80 and 100. Should be closer to 80, but if you're scared, if you're worked up, but not totally freaked out, stressed, whatever, it's going to be closer to this heart rate. So this answers a lot of questions. It's being pulsed at 104 BPM. So somebody entrained at 104 BPM would hear what's encoded in this signal. Somebody that's been entrained at 102 BPM are going to hear the voices that are being pulsed at 102 BPM. Now listen to me. This is very important. Each pulse is in A minor, and the drone frequency is F minor. This isn't theory. This isn't me making things up. This is what's up. The pulses are A minor, and the drone and the voices are in F minor. So when you hear a bunch of voices and people want to know how come I hear this and that and this and that, and someone else hears this and this, that's because you are entrained at 101 BPM and the other person is entrained at 104 or 106 BPM or 100 BPM. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's very easy to understand, and it shows just how simple this is. So there are only so many BPM. If you look at, let's say 92 to 110, all right, you've got 18 different BPMs. So there can only be 18 V2K hearers with this technology in that area because somebody is being pulsed at a different BPM. And that's why people that live together in a home, even if one, sometimes the wife will have electronic harassment and the husband will have V2K, or vice versa. Only one can get the V2K 24/7 because they're being pulsed and entrained at the same rate. If you're in the same house with somebody, you are getting pulsed at the same BPM. And there can't be two listeners hearing that, because if it said, "Hey Bill, what are you doing?" even the wife would hear, "Hey Bill, what are you doing?" or the other family member. And it explains why there are only so many V2K hearers in an area, because there are only so many BPMs. And it's all being hit at A minor for the pulse and F minor for the drone and the voices. This is important information, whether you realize it or not. And that's why I've been telling people, I'm not working with surface audio. What I'm doing is completely different. So let's listen to a couple more seconds of this, and then I'm going to move on and I'm going to show you some other stuff. You hear how it's like a heartbeat? Here's a different version of it. And then when I got really close and I took a second clip, or a half of a second clip, and looked at it, it really backed up what I was thinking about how the pulsing is happening and what is going on. Check this out. I showed you the lily wave. This is a close-up of the waves that are being pulsed. All right, this is super important. Let's listen to this once. It's going to be kind of hard to hear, so you might want to turn it up right here and then turn it back down, but check it out. Now, I'll boost that up, but if I do, it's going to crush this wave and alter the way it looks. I want you to see it. This is so similar to the lily wave, it's ridiculous. If you look here, there's a pulse. Then after the pulse, it's information. This information is voices. Then there's a pulse. This information is voices. Pulse, information is voices. So they create a vibration, send voices, create a vibration, send voices, create a vibration, send voices, on and on and on. Now, I've told people in the past the sound actually resembles a MIDI violin when you dig down to the bottom and really get to it. It sounds like a MIDI violin at ELF level, hitting, then a voice hitting. This is the wave that I just showed you here, but just boosted up so that you could hear what was within it. I'm going to play it one time, and then I'm going to go over it with you. So, you have the original pulse. This has been slowed down a lot. You have the pulse. That's the pulse. Then here's the information. Just like the lily wave. Pulse, information. Pulse, information. Pulse, information. So you have the pulse. Now here's the information. That's a word or two, but it's been slowed down. Now, here's the second pulse in the same tone. And then the information. That's a 2 or 3 syllable word. Then pulse, information. That's how it works. So let's look back at the normal wave. Pulse, information, and it's gaining strength again. Pulse, information, gaining strength again. Pulse, information. That's how this is working. So if you are pulsed at 103 BPM and entrained at 103 BPM, you are going to hear what is being pulsed at 103 BPM. This is why a lot of people that are first hit or just start hearing it, either on a mountain, in the middle of nowhere or in their home hear a bunch of voices, like a party or something like that going on, like my shower video, because they haven't been entrained yet to hear one or two voices. Even if you hear 3 voices, 4 voices, 5 voices, whether they're in your house or in your head, they are all being pulsed at the same BPM. It's a fact. These are facts that I'm showing you. It's not theory. That is a big misconception, whether it's the haunted house syndrome or voice of God weapons, V2K. Most people do not hear it in their head. It sounds like somebody hid a baby monitor somewhere and they're messing with somebody. It sounds like there's been a baby monitor hidden in your wall or hidden in your attic or in your basement. And then when you walk to that area, then you can't hear it there anymore. But that's wherever you're at, it will sound like it's coming from somewhere else. That is how most of these people get hit with this stuff. It's not in their head. 99, 95% of people do not hear it in their head. Very few people do. But it does happen. So this is where you're going to hear the violin, oboe type sounds as the pulse. I want to show this to you so I can prove that these are all musical type sounds that they are using. When I did Bill Cottle's hospital room, when I did the audio for that, he was hearing cracking in the walls. It sounded like, ghosts and ghoulies were making his walls crack. But when I analyzed the audio and got to the bottom of it, literally, all it was a MIDI snare and a MIDI hi-hat that had been sped up and shot into the room. And that doesn't mean that somebody's out with a sound cannon shooting it. It means it most likely came to life by emanating from the power grid that was running all around him and the electrical equipment around him. Because that's how most of this gets around, is right on the power grid. That doesn't mean that it originates from the power grid. It's piggybacking on the power grid, parasitically. So check this out. This is going to show you that these are quick oboe / violin hits. This sounds more like an oboe. When you actually speed it up, it sounds like a violin. Now that's where the voice is. That's where the voice is, and it sounds like a violin is slowly dragging across the strings. But it sounds like a violin when it's at the right speed. So let's go to the next one. We'll play this. And if you listen, the tinnitus is pulsing. The tinnitus high-pitched tones are pulsing right along with the low tones. That is what this is. They're creating voices just like the voter. What was that? 33 or 39 Bell Labs did the voter and created a human voice. So, people have these theories and start telling people that it's this or that or this or that, and it's not. It's not what most of these people say it is. There's another sound that rides on that is the human voice. So here are the pulses after I removed some of the really low frequencies. I believe like 80 hertz and under. So you're not going to get the thumping heartbeat and all that. Listen, you're going to hear the tinnitus frequencies, artificial tinnitus, hopping and pulsing right along with these. And you're going to hear the voices within it. Here we go. Let's loop that. This is why the voices have a weird inflection. They are enunciated weird, and everything is done semi-robotically. It's because it's not a voice that is freely talking. They are limited to the pulses. So they can do double time, quadruple time, half time, and regular time. just like music. And that's why when you listen to this, it sounds robotic or almost like sing-songy, like it's following a song, because it is limited to the BPM. Let's listen to it again. So it's like that's like it's like a beat. Listen. Listen to that again. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's limited to a beat, and that's how they are talking. They can talk. So if it's 100 BPM and it has a 3-syllable word, they can double time it, but the inflection is still going to sound weird. It's not going to sound natural like my voice sounds right now. People can hear this stuff, and if they pay attention to it, that is what they are going to hear. If they really pay attention to the voice and get past the initial frequencies and listen deep, that's what they are going to hear. This heartbeat stuff is important because it has many, many, many factors that weave into this. Way back, and I don't know if people still get this or not, I have no idea, but there are people who used to get angry at this. And as they would get angry and their heart rate and blood pressure would go up, they didn't realize that it was because of their heart rate and blood pressure, but they would get angry. And as they got angry, the voices would get higher and higher until it sounded like lollipop people, like the voices were on helium. And the reason why is because this is following your blood pressure and your heart rate. That's what's being monitored. And that is all they need to get yes or no answers from you. This is like an fMRI lie detector test. They don't need, to see you or even really hear you. They're going by the metadata that is coming from your body. And way back, people used to talk about this all the time. When they would get angry, the voices would go up and up and up until they sounded like lollipop people. It's following your blood pressure, totally and completely. And it all ties in together. They start to entrain you. They get you entrained at your heart rate. That's when you start hearing stuff, and then it follows your heart rate. Then the voices also follow your breathing patterns, everything else, and your body makes noise inside. And just like making noises anywhere else, that's what it needs to ride on. And there's a hum that's also created. So they've got it covered. They've got all the bases covered with this. Now listen to this one, and you're going to hear the heartbeat type pulses, but also listen for the artificial tinnitus, which everybody else is getting, which also creates a noise bed to hear the higher frequencies. You're going to hear the tinnitus tones pulsing right along with the heartbeat. It's indisputable. This was another test that I did at the same time, and I want you to hear right here. It's just the pulsing. But then there is an artificial noise created. That artificial noise is going to allow vibrations for a strange robotic type noise / voice to take place, and then it goes away quickly. So listen for the artificial noise, and then you're going to hear the voice right afterwards. Check it out. So, and you couldn't hear this with your bare ears. This only showed up on the recording. I didn't hear it anyway. So, bam, vibration, then it stops. That's how this is working. Pulse, voice, pulse, voice, pulse, voice. Check these out. This has been slowed down in between the pulses to show you the notes that they are using. And it sounds like a slowed down voice. Let's loop it. So, how are you hearing what other people aren't hearing in something? Because you are entrained at a different BPM than someone else is. That is how you are hearing differently. This is all being pulsed between, let's say, 93 and 110 BPM. The pulses are in A minor. The voices and the drone, the electrical drone, is in F minor. These are all facts. Again, the voices are limited to the pulse. The speed in which they are delivered to you or your surroundings are limited to the speed of the pulse in which they are pulsed at. I'm going to show you some right now. Here we go. Let's loop right here. Let's check out this one. Okay, you're going to hear this high pitch here. That's one of the pulses. Check it out. These are different frequencies of the same thing. You're going to hear the pulse, then a voice. Check it out. Now I'm going to loop that, pulse, then voice. Here we go. Okay, here's an example of pulses and double time. Here's another example of pulse and then voice. Loop it. And here's an area where one syllable, two syllable words were quickly being shot in with the pulses. It almost sounds like it's saying dirty or 30. Check it out. And then here's another example of it following a beat. Check it out. So it's it's 3 beats, 3 syllables. Check it out. It is completely and totally limited. Here's another frequency range, like one I just showed a few seconds ago, and it's going to show the pulse, and it's going to sound more like a static pulse instead of a low pulse. Check it out. And then you're going to hear voices that say, stay with the subject. I'll loop it. Right here. And if you listen, it's kind of sing-songy because they're limited to a BPM. It sounds like, stay with the subject. Stay with the subject. Again, if you're listening on your phone, you're probably not going to be able to hear that properly. So listen with earbuds or good speakers. Stay with the subject. Here you're going to hear another one of these pulses. Same way. You got to hear this. Check this out. So there's the pulse. And then here is the voice. It sounds like just make sure of it. So the reason why the inflection, enunciation, everything is weird, well, A, it's not a real voice. 2, it's limited to the pulse that's hitting the person, their heart rate, the BPM. The BPM is entrained, and I believe it's entrained to the heart rate. I haven't proven that part yet. That's the only part I haven't proven, is that the heart rate of the person is the entrainment, and then that heart rate is the BPM that is used to hit you with the voice of God weapon, whatever you want to call it, sound weapons, V2K, rogue human body communication. What I need to do is start recording, wear a heart rate monitor, and compare it to the pulses that I'm picking up, because I can't hear this stuff. All I have is artificial tinnitus that hits me periodically. You know, if I'm gone for a long time and I walk into the house, I'm hit with the tinnitus. People want to debate whether my expulsion treatment works or not, but I haven't had shocks, jolts, vibrations, anything to my body in years. So I rely on these recordings for everything. Once in a while I get the artificial tinnitus. Usually it's when I walk in my house after being gone for a long time. If I dive under my car to work on it or climb a ladder, it can go out. But then once I hit ground level, I'll start to get it again after about 5-10 minutes, and then it'll go away. So, you know, that tells you something right there. When you get down to work on a car or climb a ladder, your tinnitus shouldn't go away. It's pretty ridiculous to even think that that's natural. So let's chalk this up. You're being pulsed and entrained. The entrainment equals the BPM that you are being pulsed at. This is why you're hearing what you're hearing in that massive sound. It's being pulsed at A minor. The drone, the electrical drone, and the voices are F minor. And there's a lot to that. It's following the heart rate. And I'll get on proving that next. So that's where we're at. Look out for Charlie.